again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. Brown goes inside. Oh, what a slam from Jaylen Brown. Oh, Pritchard banks in the three at the buzzer. Great in and out dribble. Oh, he set off the smoke detector.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into your Celtics source, home of your Western Conference champions, Oklahoma City Thunder, your 3-1 Indiana Pacers, and your Cancun Boston Celtics.
Life's a beach.
I mean, weather's heating up here, so maybe it's the perfect time to be heading out to vacation. I think there's this rumor going around, or not even a rumor, but, news breaking that, maybe the Dallas Mavericks are a possible trade partner for Jrue Holiday. I wanted to get into that with you, but, we'll start with, your take on last night's absolute smackdown.
I mean, total dominance. And I think Minnesota's a good team. I thought it was going to be a closer game. I thought they had a shot here. They made some mistakes, as we saw, like turnovers, but Oklahoma City just thrashed them. I mean, just merciless thrashing. And that's it. I think the season is over. I mean, if you ask me, we're kind of done yet. They play like that. Who's going to stop them?
No, I mean, I don't think it'll be. I think I would give Indiana a better chance of, stealing a game or two, but I only at 25%, whatever. I still think it's 4-1, 4-2 series against Indiana. The Knicks automatic sweep.
Knicks are not advancing. Stop it. Just please, we don't have time for this. We got to be focused here. We don't have time for this. Orange and blue skies, that's going to be in Cancun. There's no. So I think Pacers they'll win a game. I don't know if they'll win two, but they'll definitely win a game. But I don't know. I mean, to be fair though, we said this about the Celtics going in against the Knicks. Mm-hmm. We said this about the Cavs playing Indiana, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why you play the games. But man, it feels like OKC has a glide path to the championship.
Yeah, I mean, they got maybe multiple championships. So
I will reject that hot take. We have seen it again and again. The Bucks were dominant, couldn't repeat. Nuggets dominant, couldn't repeat. Celtics dominant, couldn't repeat. Warriors did. But I think you never know what will happen. They're driven. They win. They take their foot off the gas a little bit. Minnesota's hungry. LA improves. Clippers, I don't know. Out of the East, Celtics maybe get angry. The Heat or the Cavs get it together. The Knicks improve. I don't predict they'll win again next year. Let's see if they win this year first, but I don't think so. I vote no.
Really? Just one and done, you think?
I mean, I think they'll be in contention. I think they'll make the Western Conference Finals. Maybe they'll make the finals. I don't know. They're clearly an incredible team, but it's very hard to sustain that level of focus and energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a money thing that's going to keep them out, right? They don't have to break up this team, so it's basically on them to go back.
Yeah, and that's pretty hard. It's hard to keep that motivation, right?
Fair.
So I think people are gonna. I think you saw the battle in the West, and I think all those teams are gonna this goes through OKC now.
You could be 42-40 and be just a elite team and not even make the playoffs in the West.
True.
Right? True. We have to talk. Dallas is gonna be back in the mix next year. You would think the Suns would be back in the mix after, whatever happened this year. Although
I don't know. I mean, Suns. I feel like that's they're not on my radar. I think Dallas would be interesting to see what happens with Kyrie in the knee as he rehabs that.
Yeah.
like should be, it'll take him to the it's going to take him a while, but by middle to late season, he should be in form, right? So
they're thinking March. They think it's longer than Tatum's.
for an ACL,
Yeah.
I mean, he's had historical knee problems, but I'm surprised because he tore it 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, they tore it mid-season or whatever.
Yeah.
So
It was like January, February or something.
it was right after the trade.
Yeah. So we'll see. Okay. So we're talking about Dallas. You want to talk about Dallas? Let's talk about Dallas.
Kyrie Irving's down. They need a guard, right, to just facilitate play, especially with Cooper Flagg coming in, who is not we don't think he's going to be a on the ball guy. I think he's going to be more of a off the ball sort of, not being the primary facilitator.
Not yet. Not yet, for sure.
Most forwards don't come into the league like that.
Especially to a team like that.
Right. The Celtics need centers because of, Kornet possibly moving on, Horford, and who knows what's happening with Porzingis right now.
Right.
This seems like a perfect fit. Jrue Holiday, maybe a couple other pieces for a center or two.
It does. I think they're also willing to trade with Dallas. I think that there's you're not gonna trade with LA. I don't think you're not. There's a couple people that you're not gonna trade with the Cavs, or you're not gonna trade in your division. You're not gonna help your direct rivals. Dallas, I think you're happy to help them and let them try and run the gauntlet of the West and see where the chips fall. Right. So I think it makes sense. I think the 3 years left on Jrue Holiday is a little bit of a deterrent. I think we also know that the GM at Dallas is a little sus. So there's an opportunity here. I think
Operation Fleece Dallas.
I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a much fairer trade.
Operation Longhorn. I do think though Dallas is under a little. I mean, the Celtics are under pressure because they got to get below the apron. People know that. They know they got to ship pieces. But Dallas is under pressure too because they've got to be in a win now mentality. Mm-hmm. They've got a window of another 1 to 3 years here, right? Before Anthony Davis is kind of done, before Kyrie is kind of going to start to slow down. Cooper Flagg will be coming to his own, but they've got this window where they could challenge, and maybe Jrue Holiday is that piece. So there's sort of pressure on both sides, which to me feels like you end up with a deal that happens actually,
Right. If there's pressure on both sides, it feels like you're able to make a trade that, is not maybe will work out for the Celtics because, you're not fully just giving away money to get below that contract.
That's right.
And Jrue Holiday, right, he's definitely overpaid. I don't know. I really think that, they had to do it just to keep him, but
I'm not actually sure he is overpaid. In the league where Jaylen Brown makes 55, I'm not sure that 33 or whatever Jrue Holiday makes is actually out of line. He's 35, so there's an age thing here. But I don't actually think that's off market.
You got to subtract $10 million for his age plus just the level that he brings in his prime anyway. So I
don't know. I mean,
you're at least 20 less. So
I don't know, but I don't think so. When you're, I just don't think. I think the market is high. I think it's hard to find proven winners, right? The only way you solve this is you got to draft well. You got to GM well, which I think we're lucky to have Brad Stevens. I think he's a great GM. Again, we talked about this in baseball. The GM, you don't get to just draft everybody and wait the whole career and figure out who the winner is. That's not the job. Mm-hmm. That's not the job. The job is to pick the winners, know when to sell them and when to buy them and when to trade draft picks and when to draft and all. And so Brad Stevens, I think, has got a good knack for it. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm looking at, their salaries for next year.
Yeah.
This year they're paying $177 million. Celtics are at $195, right? Okay. Obviously the Celtics jump up to $230 next year or whatever. And the Mavs, I believe, jump up to around 15, something like that. No, 210, because they
Okay.
also have to pay Cooper Flagg at least 14 million probably.
No way.
Yeah, that's what the starting for number one draft pick for
Really?
Norman Powell is, something like
I
14
gotta have
million.
the interns check on this.
I think so. Let me check right here.
I'm gonna look. I didn't think it was. Otherwise, I don't think that can be right because 4-year fully guaranteed 43 million, so 10 million bucks a year.
Yeah. So
So 10 million bucks a year though. I guess you
okay.
said 14, so not that
Yes.
far off.
So
Right.
I didn't know I just said a ballpark.
Yeah. No, you're right actually. So I do think you do have to consider in a trade like that, Dallas is going to have to dump some salary too,
Right.
or be willing to go over the apron and just
Especially
go for it.
Right, especially because AD is making a lot more money next year than he is making this year, right? And that's sort of the problem with this trade, right? Both teams are trying to dump salary. While at least Dallas is trying to be a contender, the Celtics are not necessarily trying to go all out this year.
Well, so then the question is, can you and again, neither of us are GM experts here, but if you do that deal and you take salary back, and then you can either dump or cut those players, but you get draft picks. So in other words, you're like, okay, we're going to give you the player you actually want so you can contest. And then we're going to eat the money and dump the salaries on the other guys. So we're basically going to give you Jrue Holiday for nothing, but we get draft picks back in the future, which is the real value we're going to get here, right? Give us your, 20, 29, 2030, 2031 like picks here, right?
Right. It's the bummer is that, Dallas doesn't have that many good picks because they didn't get them from Los Angeles in this trade when they could have gotten at least 2 first-round draft picks. Which makes, it's gonna have to be a trade player for player sort of trade. There's not going to be a lot of assets on the other side, which
there maybe then the play is right. Again, maybe this is a three-way trade. Maybe you need the Nets here, and it's like, hey, we're going to give you some great role players from Dallas. You're going to give us picks. We're going to give the picks to Boston. We're going to take Holiday. Maybe that's how it works.
I think it has to be a three-way trade, right? I think the Celtics get their draft picks or whatever from a team like the Nets. The Celtics send Jrue Holiday, maybe Hauser or someone else to Dallas.
The thing though is, if I'm the GM of the Nets or any of the other,
involved in this,
I would follow the Celtics playbook, which the OKC followed the Celtics playbook, right? Like amass draft capital, leverage that, keep your payroll low, draft smart, draft well, develop those players, and then add those veterans when you need it, even if you go over and make your run. That's the playbook. So why am I going to take a bunch of relatively mid-level expensive role players to maybe make the first round of the playoffs and lose? Like, why would I do that? Yeah. I'd rather reset.
Two quick side things here. I want to say that there's been some people in different social media platforms and whatever saying, is this team a dynasty? OKC. They haven't even won a title yet. Like, why?
Yes.
We can't even say that yet. People are getting ahead of themselves here. Yes, I mean they're likely almost. I mean, pretty good chance that they're here, but
But you can't.
Gotta win one.
When you can crown a dynasty, when you're a dynasty, not before. Right? Like, so the Celtics, they wanted to crown this a dynasty. Like, could they win 2? Could they win 3 out of 4?
Well,
we win 1, and now let's see how it goes over the next couple of years. So,
yeah, I mean, there's ESPN today had a little segment talking about sort of how sad it was just to be, the Celtics have it sort of all fall apart due to injuries and other things that yes, there's the money part, but there's also the injuries, just a team that you thought was going to be the next dynasty just to sort of get blown all apart in 1 year, which is what people think it's gonna happen this summer. I don't think so. I think it's not gonna be a full yard sale, but
If we take some other sports analogies here, if we take a page out of the Bill Belichick model, if we take a page out of the Yankees model, like maybe the right way to think about this, as Brad Stevens is, we want to always be in contention. We want to always be one move away from being able to win it all, right? And so if we keep that base and sustainability, like over the next many years, we will always be in a position to make that one big move and run for the title. And like it can't be boom bust for Boston, right? Like you got to always be like the Yankees are always in contention. You know, like now they spend a lot of money, but Boston will spend money, right? So that's got to be the mentality, which is you're going to move people, you're going to swap bodies, you're going to have a different guard, second baseman, you know, whatever. But like Tatum's your quarterback, right? Brady's your quarterback, you know, whatever it is. Like you have those core guys you're going to build around, and over time, one of those guys is going to move out. You're going to have to move another piece in there. You know what I mean? But that's got to be you. I think you have to manage for sustainability if you want to have a shot at winning multiple championships and being a dynasty.
You gotta be able to get from a mid-playoff team to a championship with just one or two moves on the edges, not by rebuilding the full team every 2 years.
Well, you can't build every 2 years. You can't tank enough and build. Look how long it took Tatum and Brown. Look how long it took Shea. Look how it takes time. Like Cooper Flagg is probably going to be a great player. He's 19, right? He will be 19, whatever. He's not going to be a great player until he's 23. Like the NBA is way tougher than college.
I mean, you look at Anthony Edwards. This is 2 years in a row. He's gone to the conference finals and he lost both in 5 games.
Yeah. So I think the key on the strategy is you always have to keep the core and the rotation, and you can't. If you're Boston, you're never going to tank. You know what I mean? Like
it's just not in our mindset.
Or you got to do like the Bruins did and like full reset. We're trading Marchand. We're trading our captain, and we're gonna
look at where the Panthers are now. So
look at where the Panthers are going to win it all, right?
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, even though we hate the Panthers, it makes me happy that Marchand's going to win. I mean, he hasn't won it yet, but like, I would love for him to win another cup. Like, it's awesome. That's awesome, right? Like, so I think you got to think about the long-term strategy, even in the face of the short-term decisions, right? Like you're thinking about not next year, but the year after, and the year after. You're thinking 3 moves ahead, 4 years ahead, and trying to lay that groundwork.
Yeah. Another point I wanted to talk about was, I think, this summer is going to be marked by, the trade for Giannis or wherever he goes. But the last 2 championships, or the Celtics championship and what we think will be a Thunder championship, has come from the role players that have come out of a big trade like that, right? The Jrue Holiday coming to the Celtics, the Thunder going and getting a Alex Caruso, a Isaiah Hartenstein, right? 3 stars, a big 3 doesn't win in this league anymore. You need depth that can play in the playoffs.
You need 8 players to win, 9, not 6.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's right. It's actually a really good point because it's sort of like you can't win without the superstars, but you also can't win without the role players. If you don't have a Pritchard, a Hauser, a Cornette on the Celtics, if you don't have the Caruso who they starts or whatever, if you don't have those guys who are just making $20 million a year or whatever, like you need those role players who are ready to step up and give you 12 points off the bench.
You need veteran role players, right? You have the young star or even a young big 3 as OKC has, but you have the older veterans that are in their late 20s.
I don't know if they have to be old or not. I think they have to fit the role. Like Pritchard was relatively young, relatively as he came into his own and played that role. Cornette's a little older, but like if you get the right fit in the system and the play, then a 24-year-old can be a great role player off the bench, gives you 18 minutes and 9 points, but whatever you or the defense you need, right?
Like OKC has such a deep defensive team that
Yeah.
they ask, their role players just to guard one guy. That's all you do tonight. You just guard that one guy, and when that guy comes off the court, you go off the court. You don't do anything else. You're not asked to score. You're not asked to play down the stretch and crunch time. It's just you guard this, and that's all you do tonight, and it makes it super easy for them to just perform.
Yep. It really is. It's interesting how I feel like the league has changed in the last 10 years, which you may or may not be old enough to remember. But it used to be like you had a big two or big three, let's go, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to win it all, right? The top three players on the court win. And you need the top two guys or whatever, but you really need the depth. You really do. I think it's a subtle but interesting change.
I don't know why that is though, because I feel like teams were still doubling their best players, still forcing team. Why is it that now star players can't carry a team the full way?
It's a good question. I mean,
look
at Denver. Look at Denver.
Yeah, you had the best player in the world.
Couldn't do it. I can't look at Butler, and I know Curry got injured. Maybe they would have done better, but look at LeBron and Luka. It's just not enough. Just not enough. So let's take that back to the Celtics. Tatum and Brown, not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be
Holiday. You bring in White. You bring in. Pritchard develops, and then you have a full team.
So then it seems like if when we go and have coffee with Brad Stevens and we give him our input as he so often solicits, the real thing is you're looking for the 2 to 3 year talent now. You want the sleeper that's going to be mature in 2 to 3 years or 4 years. That's you're not actually worried about next year or the year after even. How do you find the next Pritchard? How do you find the next?
You gotta find them when they're young and not developed yet, and have them developed, and that's.
Or you got to find a guy like White who's a mismatch in the system and unlock them, right? That's something that the Patriots weren't always perfectly successful in, but they found that guy who didn't fit the system they were in. They brought him to New England, and they said, "Hey, here's the one thing you got to do: you just rush the passer. You don't have to catch touchdowns. You don't have to do kick returns, or you're versatile." They found people to fit the right butt in the right seat, and it made all the difference. So that's what Brad's got to do here, right?
Mm-hmm. I think, the later we go, I feel like White is becoming more and more on the table for a possible trade, and I don't want him to go. I think he is the foundational guy of this team, but I just feel like you get so much for him, and teams really want that guy.
I think you got 4 more good years at White. I don't think.
Yeah, at least.
I don't think you trade him.
Yeah.
I think you run that contract out, and if you think in the last year of the contract,
if it overpaid you, he's not the kind of athletic guard, so you're not as worried about freak injuries and whatever, or wearing down over time. Obviously, a freak injury can happen or whatever to any player. It's not the player that's going to wear down from overuse, because he just doesn't play that kind of game.
Yeah.
He's not trying to, dunk on people. He's not trying to get into the air and get absolutely smashed around. So
yeah. He's not like Ant, just scrape the sky and rip the rim off the backboard. Because I could see Anthony Edwards in the coming years have a bad injury. Just the physicality of the way he plays.
Like Ja, right? Ja and Ant are very similar. Ja tore full shoulder or whatever and just practice.
Yeah, he tried to rip the space-time continuum he dunked so hard, right? So. But something back we were talking about with Brad Stevens, I think maybe there's an interesting play here, which is you make some moves for assets that you actually plan to move again this year, maybe in the middle of the season toward the trade deadline. You're actually going to get a bunch of pieces and guys that you don't even plan to keep. you're gonna try and play, three-dimensional chess here and be like, we're gonna do this to get these guys because we think that we can then move them again in January to contenders who we can then get back the pieces we need for the next year or the year after or the draft capital or whatever. Maybe this is a 2-3 step move here kind of thing. I don't know. This is what we pay Brad for. And so,
Yeah. We'll wrap it up here. Things to look out. Jrue Holiday going to Dallas. There was also a thing on him maybe going to Clippers. Clippers don't have much to offer you. The Celtics, I think, are really looking for a center. And it may not be a center that can shoot threes or whatever. Dallas doesn't have those kind of centers, right? And, you're going to be looking for Joe Mazzulla to develop as a coach next year. Can he find a different way to get centers that don't shoot threes, at a consistent rate? And, you have...
Do you think we'll see Cornette beyond the arc dropping bombs?
I don't think so. No, I think Cornette was a good, a good test for Joe Mazzulla on how to play without a shooting center, right? And so, I think you're going to be looking for maybe a Derek White and a center pick and roll sort of thing that Jason Tatum can just step right into once he comes back, sort of thing.
If Cornette's gone, because if Cornette's here, that rolls
that's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But I still think you want a backup center. Even with Tatum down, I would take a center over a forward, even though you have a.
I think so.
Even though you'd have a lot of centers if everyone were to stay, I just think that you want a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Listen, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Let's wrap it up. Prediction. I'm going to go OKC in 5. 5.
5.
I think so.
I have OKC and I really am tempted to go 6, but I just don't think. I feel like we said this before, the Thunder and Pacers are the sort of same style team, but Thunder just is a step.
Defense is so.
It's just incredible.
I mean,
but they score their points the same way and whatever. So
I feel like Minnesota beats the Pacers.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Maybe they do. Yeah.
I don't know.
Although,
maybe not. I don't know.
The Nuggets took the Thunder to 7, and the Wolves were unable to do that.
That's true.
Although I don't think the Thunder played as good as they played in this series as they played in that.
Yeah, I thought it was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, they just found a new level on that defensive end. I mean, you're up. The Thunder get up to like a 10-point lead, whatever, within 3-4 minutes of that game, and it's still time to keep in that game. But the Thunder realize if we can just push it for just a little bit more, we turn them off for the rest of the game, and then we cruise.
Yeah, and you know what, for me,
just 4 more minutes, and that game was over.
That's right. That's right. The play for me that really sealed it was, I think it was SGA. I think Ant had the ball. He's coming up. He's sort of outside the 3-point line, and he looks. SGA reaches around with his left and pokes the ball away.
Oh, that play, yeah.
I can't remember who it was already sprinting through the gap, grabs it for a wide open.
Yeah, I remember the play. I don't remember who that was on the far end. But
and it was just like, it was so seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was like, wow. They did that against Ant. You know what I mean? It's not like you did that against,
right.
I
talked about this quickly on, reaction last night to the game, but there were also 4 or 5 times that I counted physically of just a slap on the arm to get a turnover as well from the Thunder.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all just great defense. There were a lot of, slap on the arm to get the.
It didn't feel quite like.
Because I didn't think the Wolves were. Yes, they were terrible in that game, but you can't give up just 30 points on turnovers in that first half from just clean defense.
I felt like I feel like the officiating wasn't quite even, but that's not why they lost.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
But we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be live for tonight's game, and follow on social media. And until next time, go Celtics.
Go Celtics.
Go Pacers, I guess, and root for the best.
Go home.
We look forward to, whatever, October 24, 2026,
exactly.
the 20 whatever.
Yeah.
Next season. But
all right.
Yeah.
We'll see you out there. Be safe.
It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured.